to that point, though, I don't think that James Gunn had anything to do with this news. However, I think he's a big fan of it, though, and that is I'm not going to say how we know that this, but you can kind of infer by some things that came out this past weekend. That Henry Cavill, the Lord of all the superhero universe and the great conquering hero, has returned, and Henry Cavill will be playing Superman going forward. He shared on his social medias Monday or Tuesday, and basically was just like, "Hey guys, I'm back!" And we're going. I just shared the GIF from How to Train Your Dragon of all things.
Yeah.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you. Like, because y'all, he's got the spit curl again. Right now it's covered up by cowboys, but he's got the spit curl, and I'm just so happy. But also, he said a certain project. Let's be honest, it's been out for more than a few days already. If you were going to see Black Adam, you would have seen it by now.
If you didn't want things to be spoiled, you would have seen it by now. Yeah.
If you didn't want things to be spoiled,
seen it, but
The Rock shouldn't have talked for 2 weeks leading up to the movie's release. But okay, what I love though is the producer Hiram from Black Adam was just like, I wish we didn't have the cameo spoiled at the end of Black Adam going, "Talk to The Rock. No one spoiled it but The Rock." Like, what are you talking about? But so Henry Cavill took to his social medias, which I think is just Instagram. I don't think he's on Twitter or anything else. He shared on Instagram. He's like, "What you saw in Black Adam is just a taste of what's to come. There's plenty more to come," which makes me go, okay, you didn't just sign a one-off. And we have heard about this, like, quote-unquote, Man of Steel 2 that they're developing, which I think is probably just going to be a quasi-reboot of Superman. I'm imagining they're going to have much more for him than just that one of, okay, I could see him popping up in other movies. I wasn't a fan of other heroes showing up in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but in the greater context, it made sense. I can absolutely see Henry Cavill doing that for other people's movies, because we had heard for a while he hadn't signed to be in like his own movies, but he had signed to appear in other people's movies as kind of the quote-unquote Nick Fury, as what was being described. But now it looks like he's a main player again. I still think we can get some of that Nick Fury-ishness in terms of slight cameos here and there. Like, top of the list needs to be Shazam. He needs to meet Billy Batson and actually, show his face this time. Although, if knowing David F. Sandberg and a sense of humor, I would love it if they get Henry Cavill back and they show his head, like the Proud Family, like they just chop off his head, but it is actually Henry Cavill. And at the end, Henry Cavill's just like, "Yeah, I've been here the whole time." Like, the post-credit scene is actually showing his face for Superman this time.
Oh man, let's go. I'm just excited. Like, obviously, I think it in the midst of everything of like quietly canceling all of the other Superman projects they were working on, not so quietly canceling, I guess. I can totally see it being confusing for the general audience. And Henry Cavill's Superman, and I personally, I don't think so. I think now they're trying to straighten everything out. Okay, let's build a foundation before we start getting weird. So to me, and Henry Cavill's the perfect player to do that. I think what's going to be interesting is, though, does that mean Affleck is back? Does that mean you know what I mean? Like, how many people do we bring back? Because then once you bring Batfleck back, does that how does that affect Robert Pattinson's Batman? How does that affect? So there's a lot of like ripple effects, I think, ripple questions that I think I have that I would love to have answered within the next couple months or whatever. Yes, I demand multi-billion-dollar companies give me answers. But like, there's a lot.
I don't see Batfleck coming back, just because the situation of his exit versus Henry Cavill's hiatus, because it's not an exit. Fair. I think that was a different situation. Cavill was always, "I want to come back. The cape's still in the closet. I want to come back. I want to be Superman. I love this role. I love this character." I'm not saying Ben Affleck didn't, but I think he is very burned by his experience on Live by Night, which was the movie that he directed. I think he was either right before Batman versus Superman or right after,
Yeah.
in between that and Justice League. And all anybody was asking him was Batman, Batman, Batman questions. And he was just like, I've made this other movie. Granted, the critics
Yeah.
didn't like it, but I poured my heart and soul into this movie. But all of y'all want to talk about Batman instead. So that was very frustrating. And he also,
Yeah.
like a lot of other cast members, had a tough time on Joss Whedon's Justice League. So I think it was
Yeah.
just him wanting to be done with it. And also, Ben Affleck is slightly older than Henry Cavill. So
Yeah.
if they want to keep going with him, which is definitely a possibility, it could be an age being a factor because Batman is a physically demanding role. So is Superman.
Yeah.
But you and I have talked about before of as great as Ben Affleck is in the Batman role, immediately starting with an old Batman kind of handicaps the stories that you can tell.
Absolutely.
With like the Bat family or certain villains. They're just like, you start with Dark Knight Returns, you're kind of limited in where you can go. Whereas Henry Cavill Superman, you still have a lot of story avenues you can go here. He's still very young enough that he can carry this franchise for a while. It's probably not going to be James Bond now, which that's fine. I'd rather him be this instead. Sure. He can stick to this and the Enola Holmes movies for some reason. But
which, real quick, weren't those movies getting sued? I'm so confused by that.
Yeah, there's a second one coming like in a few weeks or something.
Yeah, like I thought Netflix was getting sued for using non-public domain stuff. So, but whatever, that's a total
shocker.
Other conversation. Yeah.
So going forward, I feel like I've talked about it before of I would want Brad Bird. If we can't get Brad Bird, Christopher McQuarrie, who apparently is at the top of their list. If you were James Gunn and you had at least some input on the future direction of Superman with Henry Cavill and the direction that they take, who are some people that you're going to have conversations with to try and rope them into this? What direction would you take the character, etc.? What are you thinking, Josh?
I think first movie is going to stay away from like Zod or Lex. You do something else. Do something completely different. I hope that they don't involve JJ at all, as much as I love JJ. We get it. He's a Christ metaphor. We understand. Like you don't stop banging that over our heads. Please stop. It doesn't make the character interesting in a weird way. Like on paper, you'd think that would make him more interesting, but it does the exact opposite. As far as directors, I would love to have involved. Brad Bird, obviously. Flanagan, I think could have a lot of fun with.
Oh, he wants to do Clayface instead.
Oh, that's right. You know, like that. Putting it on the ethos, the Brendan Fraser starring Clayface film. Let's go. Let's get it. But yeah, I think there's, to me, maybe first one. I feel like you have to start after, like maybe do go the Batman route where he's been on the job for a year or two, and so then things start to happen because then you can launch into like a Bizarro storyline that like yes, because then eventually you're like, oh, it was Lex all along. That's crazy. But like, what a better way to reintroduce a character that we've already seen by making him deal with like, okay, what makes me and what makes me different than this crazy psychotic version of me. To start with Bizarro, I think is like the best option there.
I know that his name has also been floated around with Superman projects for years, but Matthew Vaughn, I think, could be really interesting. If this was a few years ago, I'd be more excited. But after the second Kingsman and the Kingsman, I'm a little less high on Matthew Vaughn as I was before. But he's still a very competent film director. If I was tasked with making a Superman movie, and someday I swear I'm going to get around to pitching a Superman video or a Nightwing sequel, one of them, I swear.
I was like, one day I'm going to direct a Superman film, and honestly, I'd like bring it, dude. I would love to
I gotta do my horror short film first that I keep
oh, that's
saying
also
I'll
true,
do.
yeah.
But no, someday I'll actually pitch my Superman one. But the idea that I've always had in my head of you made Captain America work by putting him in the modern day and not having him punch his way out of a situation. Winter
Yeah.
Soldier is so beautiful and works so well for the character of Captain America because Captain America, as a moral character, lives in a very black and white area, and Superman is very much of that same
Hmm.
ideology of right is right and wrong is wrong. So, what if you pit him up against some form of evil or corruption that he can't just punch his way out of? I would like a story maybe where he's at the Daily Planet and he's continuing to try and pitch to his editor, hey, this local school is raising funds for this great cause. Can we talk about this in the paper? Talk about these uplifting and positive stories. And maybe Perry White or maybe Lex Luthor buys the Planet and
Yeah.
goes, people don't read the news to read about stuff that makes them happy. We're here to
Yeah.
sell papers. We're here to tell the world that it is not safe, because the more scared people are, the more we sell, type of situation. And
Yeah.
Clark can very much be like writing the positives while he's Clark, but trying to save the day and make people less scared as Superman, and make that not, he's literally trying to, I don't know. It's an abstract concept of just be the good in the world, but it's not a
Yeah.
punch just, you can't just fight somebody at the end of it and make it all better, which I think works for Captain
Yeah.
America, who is very similar to a Superman type.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think what's going to be interesting too is if you do bring it into the modern day, do you still have him work at a paper? Because
News
newspapers
station.
aren't. Yeah, a news station or like a blog, not a blog. I
A
don't know.
news station,
Make
and Jimmy Olsen is the videographer.
make him a TikTok star.
I will punch you in the jejunum.
Could be fun. Who knows?